It's crazy to me how one match can save an entire WrestleMania. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another edition of WrestleMania Review Series. I'm Alex Catano, and this show, wow, not the greatest show in the world. I'm being real. This show was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, but if it wasn't for that one match, man, this show would have been a huge disaster. It would have been an F, probably one of the worst WrestleManias of all time. Now people put it like maybe number 10 as far as worst WrestleMania, but this would have been like number 3, right up there with 9 and 11. Um, but the good news about this show, it basically was like the precursor of the Attitude Era, which is possibly one of the most important eras in WWF slash WWE history. And really, it really all started to me with that one match, which we'll get to. But outside of that, this the rest of the show just basically foreshadowed, like, because it has a lot of great legends in here. Too bad we didn't know they were gonna be great legends until like much later on. So let's just kick it off. The Headbangers, they beat Doug Furnace and Phil LaFord, the Godwins, and the new Blackjacks. Basically, the winner of this match would have been the number one contenders for the WWF Tag Team Champions in the future. Clearly they didn't care about what to do with these guys, so they just put them all together in a tag team match. Now, years later, in the showcase match, that had a purpose. They didn't have a purpose, but it was a good match. This was not a good match. I would have appreciated this if this was actually good tag team wrestling, but it's not. So, yeah, the tag team division was dead around this time, and the people who did matter in the tag team division were busy with other stuff. So yeah, let's move on. Oh yeah, this was elimination again. Yeah, kudos to that. Next we had Rocky Maivia defeated the Sultan for the Intercontinental Championship. And for those of you who do not know, this is Rock, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and Rikishi. Because these guys look like such goofballs. The new generation era would have ruined them. Thankfully, the Attitude Era, they opened their eyes and saw the potential that these guys really could have been if they just gave them a little more edge. And yeah, they really tried hard with the Sultan. That gimmick looked terrible from the start. They pushed Iron Sheik and Bob Backlund next to him. Rocky Maivia being this Cookie Crisp baby face that no one cared about. He was trying to be like the next Superman, and they're like, no, he's not. And it was just terrible. So then, eventually he joined the Nation of Domination. He took over that group, and well, he became The Rock. So there was some good out of this, is that we got to see what The Rock and Rikishi will eventually be, but it took a terrible turn in this match because, yeah, another bad match. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeated Goldust in just a grudge match. This was just basically them mocking Goldust because of his gimmick. Hunter Hearst Helmsley being this like gentleman type of character with China. This time he's with China. So at least that was the kudos. Like honestly, the real star of this entire match was China, and that's really all you really cared about. I mean, yeah, nothing to run home about. Now this next match, I actually was excited to see. It was actually pretty solid until the ending, but it was Owen Hart and the British Bulldog versus Mankind and Vader. Um, it was kind of funny to watch this match because Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog, whatever you call him, they were both feuding because they were both wanting the European Championship. You know, Davey Boy Smith may have two belts, but he ain't got two slammies like Owen Hart. Remember? Um, this was it was kind of cool them working together, but seeing if they can work. And then Mankind and Vader, who generally don't like each other, Vader was the one responsible for Mankind's ear. Uh, and then the fact that it just ended in a double count out, it just kind of took away from it. Granted, with a match like this, I don't know who would have properly gone over. Now that I think about it, but the thing going around is that really everybody involved in this match should have been doing something else. Mankind should have probably fought Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Vader should have been in the main event with The Undertaker. Owen and Bulldog could have fought another tag team, but then again, the tag team division was awful around this time. But they did the best they could with what they got, and luckily it's four guys that I like. On to two guys that I like. In a no disqualification submission match with special guest referee Ken Shamrock, we have Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, and this was pure gold. The greatest or one of the greatest matches of all time. Not greatest WrestleMania of all time, greatest of all time. This is just a legendary match. Basically, the story going around, Shawn lost his smile and they had to basically pivot everything because the original plan was Shawn and Bret, with Bret going over. Um, and then Austin, while he won the Royal Rumble, he didn't properly win, given the fact that he was eliminated and that he just ran back in and won the damn thing. Bret Hart being the runner-up, Bret Hart being tired of being screwed over by the WWF. He's just angry at everybody. Austin's like, "Shut up! Ever since you came back, you ain't done nothing but cry. If you put the letter S in front of Hitman, you get my exact definition of Bret Hart." It was This was just pure gold. This was just Attitude Era at its peak. This match was kick ass. Both men just beating the crap at each other. It goes to the crowd. Also, the entrance of Stone Cold Steve Austin was just badass with the glass, and then just breaks, and then he just walks in. This was just, I love this match. It was bloody. It was hardcore. It was just a badass match. And then the best ending to a match where Bret Hart puts the sharpshooter on him. Um, Austin is refusing to tap out. He's all bloodied up. That iconic face of Austin bleeding. He just passes out, and then Bret Hart is the winner. But Stone Cold is the one that gets the standing ovation. A phenomenal match. One of my favorite matches of all time. Um, it's a 5-star classic. If you give it more, I would give it more. I'm not gonna Dave Meltzer it up with 7.5 stars and shit. Anyways, we move on, and I'm very sad because it's just bad after this. This next match is actually pretty good, but it just doesn't get better from here. Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom versus the Nation of Domination in a Chicago street fight. I really enjoyed this match. I believe they wanted Ahmed Johnson in the Nation, but then he refused, and then LOD came. I'm guessing that's what the feud is. The commentary was not good around this time. They were so focused on McMahon being in charge, being the commentator. Hell, McMahon is a terrible commentator. I'm not just saying that because of what he is now, but he just very much is such a sponsor man that like he just focuses so much on that. Luckily, we this is the last time he ever does commentary at a WrestleMania. That's the good news. But yeah, I really wasn't high on his commentary this night. But anyways, this match, Ahmed Johnson and Legion of Doom, great match. If it wasn't for Hart and Austin, this would have been the best match of the show. If I'm being quite honest, but a pretty solid match and a good way to put Ahmed Johnson over, having him next to LOD. And then we move on to the main event. But before we get to the main event, Shawn Michaels has his whole entrance. I thought his leg was hurt. I thought he lost his smile. He just comes out. There's a part where he does a too sweet, giving a nod to Kevin Nash, who was watching around the time. There's a whole video about it. Kevin Nash, the next night, goes to WCW and goes right back at you, HBK. Um, Fantastic. Cool little Easter egg for those of you who didn't know. I found out about it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But then Shawn Michaels is on commentary. Undertaker makes his entrance. Psycho Sid makes his entrance. It's for the WWF Championship in the main event. So you got your main event. Psycho Sid versus The Undertaker. Two heavyweights. Who's going over? Who's going to be WrestleMania? Like whatever Psycho Sid's promo was before the match. That was just terrible. Anyways, the match starts. Uh, Bret Hart comes out, cuts a real promo like, "Yo, you ain't injured. You're just a coward. You don't want to fight me." And it was just a brilliant promo from Bret Hart. He's just going at it. And now back to the whole McMahon sucking on commentary. This match is a no DQ match, and a lot of people would not have known that. But because they don't do anything, they don't get chairs, they don't fight. The only no DQ moment was when Bret Hart hits Psycho Sid with a chair and nothing happens to him, and then also the whole no referee counting 1, 2, 3 from the outside. This was just infamous for Psycho Sid crapping himself. Um, it was just a very terrible match. Psycho Sid, I've never liked this guy. How did this guy manage to only wrestle 2 WrestleManias, both of which are in the main event? Granted, he lost both, but still, how did this guy make it to the main event? Anyways, this match not not good. The only iconic part was Undertaker holding the WWF Championship, his second one, I believe, up to this point. That's crazy. From 1991 to 1997, Undertaker was not a world champion. That's crazy. But anyways, that was a cool moment, and we eventually get that awesome reign with the Undertaker having these pretty solid matches with the likes of Vader, Mankind, and of course Bret Hart at SummerSlam. Anyways, this was not a good show. They're really only saved by Austin and Bret Hart. Yes, I like the LOD Chicago Street Fight, but yeah, really just watched that submission match with Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. That to me is what started the Attitude Era. And for that, I would have to give this show, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna give it a D plus. A D plus only for Bret Hart and Austin alone. This would have been an F if it wasn't for that match, because it's not fair that the rest of the show had to suffer. Granted, a lot of other cool things happen, like foreshadowing the future of the company, but yeah, it was a rough start. So D plus, and let's move on to an A show. Spoilers, WrestleMania 14. We'll see you then.